Alright, so we're ready to start construction, or assembly. It's sort of an exciting time. I've seen this done dozens of times in videos. It'll be my first time doing it. I want to pass on some wisdom I learned from an Australian game cabinet maker that I watched a video from. Basically what he does is this is where the bottom board goes. This is my two 2x4s I'm using as the base, and underneath it go the 3/4 inch plywood. It doesn't go on top, because if it went on top it would come off when weight was applied. Going from underneath, of course, it's gonna hold up the machine. So I drew this line. I basically put the plywood piece in here, and I drew a line. That's just for your benefit and mine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tiny drill bit for pilot holes, and I'm going to drill a couple of pilot holes all the way through. Now the reason I'm doing that, and I'm going to do that in several places, I don't have two hands and it looks like that's going to be a pain in the behind. But the idea is to drill several pilot holes here before you go and mount the board. The idea is later on you're going to take the screw that you're going to use and you're going to screw it in from the other side. And this is a really easy way to know exactly where the center of the board is, because that's what you want to do. I'm going to put some glue in this spot all the way down the length, and you know me and glue. I'm going to use my paintbrush and just a gob of glue. It's just going to go right here, and that's going to hold everything together. And I'm also going to use my nail gun, and I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go doo, 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 and I'm going to nail it to this board. That'll hold it up, and then I'm going to come down from underneath, and I'm going to take some of these screws, and I'm going to use those pilot holes that I drilled, and I'm going to come up through them, and I'll know exactly where to go to hit the center of the board, because I drilled down in advance. Now that's why I'm using such a tiny drill bit, because as you can see, I'm not using really thick screws, so I'll need to have several places there, as many as I feel like I need to super reinforce it. But that's the plan. So while you have this piece of plywood tucked into this spot, you can also clamp it using clamps to hold it in place. I don't have hands, and my tripod really wouldn't work in this position, so you're just going to have to take my word for it, and I'll show you when it's done. See you in a minute. Sweet. Alright, so the glue's in place. As you can see, I have a zigzag pattern from my nail gun. I'm just nailing in these 1.5 inch nails. And I'll clean up the glue. I usually like to let it do its squeeze out and then get it before it dries. But as you can see, oh crap, there's a little gap there. Actually, okay, it's just not level. I was gonna say, holy crap, that's pretty serious. All right, so that's that. I haven't done the bottom part. It's not gonna be easy to do from this angle, but there are tiny screw holes. You're not gonna see them. There's one. There's tiny screw holes all along the bottom of this cabinet, and I'll be able to go along and screw into this plywood from the outside edge, and of course that'll make holes that I'll need to patch, but there's going to be an occasional outside hole that needs to be patched. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to cover it with vinyl or something. Anyway, so that's the first one. I'm going to finish that without coming back to it, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to put a bead of glue along here, and then I'm going to take that board over there that I've got set up for this. Take that board right there on the top, and I'm going to put it right here, and then I'm going to tack it from the top. Actually, I'll need to drill the holes first. I'll drill some holes here for the pilot holes for the screws, and then I'll throw a whole bunch of glue down, and then I'll position the board like this. I'll do a better job of keeping the gap from getting out of control. And then I'll tack it on the side with a nail gun, and then I'll have two sections that I can that I can use to mount my second board, because that's the goal here, is to mount that board. I'll probably do the top board too. That way I have 3 boards. Anyway, let me get to it. I'll be back in a minute. All right. So I have screwed down the bottom one, right there. It's tacked in from the side, glued, and also screwed from the outside edge. The middle one and the end diagonal piece. And then I have this other piece I've gone through. I've drilled my pilot holes. So my next step is to put some glue on this spot. Well, actually, no. I don't think I will glue it on this spot. I think I'll come up here to the top of these, and I will paint some glue on the top. That way it's not a mess where it's, you know, upside down and me trying to work it all out. I'll put glue on the top of each of these 3 sections. I've got my pilot holes drilled on the bottom of this one, on the top of that one, and on the top of that far one. So I should be able to just flip it over, put it down, make sure that these boards are where they're supposed to be. Once I'm sure the boards are where they're supposed to be, I will screw them down, and we'll be ready to stand this thing up. All right, so I flipped the piece over, set it down on top, went ahead and tacked it down using the nail gun, and now I just have a bunch of screw holes here on the top. Now this is going to be an ugly number of fixes, but I just need to go through and screw this bit down. Once it's all screwed down, I'll stand it up, and we're running out of time for this episode, so I'll stand it up and we'll call it a day. One more thing I forgot to talk about, and that's countersink bits. Because this isn't cheap plywood like I'm used to doing, if you screw that in right there, it won't work unless you countersink it. You buy a countersink bit and you put that oval right there so that the end of the screw can get in there and sink under the surface. If you don't do that, this wood will not give. The cabinet grade wood is strong enough to fight back, and it will just be sitting up above the surface like this, and nothing you can do with your drill can get it to go down. So countersink, friends. All right, I'm afraid I'm out of time for part 8, but that's what it looks like stood up. We still have to put the top on, the front marquee, the speaker holder, and now there's a boatload of other stuff, but what can I say? We're making serious progress now. I'll see you on the next video.